Thank you for the question, Paige. I can't help but sort of fumble a little bit because I do feel very personal about this question. I feel like I identify with what makes us an EJ city. I'm from Germantown originally. That's where my parents are originally from. We're a minority. Most of my family has English as a second language. And growing up, we had income inequalities that we had to face. And, you know, it, as far as what ordinances we can pass, I think, one of the first things, first and foremost, that I'm always making sure to prioritize is that whatever we put into effect is going to be ineffective, right? To support these communities like mine and my parents, if we don't have the connection with access, right? And language access, I think, is so critical when it comes to this work. And so I do want to just mention back to, the work I had done to create language access here across the city, because whatever initiatives we put out, again, if we're not connecting with people like my parents, who, when they were in their early 30s, were trying to catch the bus out of Germantown to go to work, but had to walk, if they get a flyer in the mail that talks to them about, hey, here are some incentives that you can take advantage of, and they can't actually read that flyer, my dad, my mom, they're not going to be able to take advantage of that, right? So language access is so critically important to any ordinance that we put out there. Representation truly matters in this kind of work. And again, if we're talking about long-term effects of climate change and all the amazing questions that were asked here tonight about ordinances and resolves and things that we can support, if we're not connecting to those residents like my mom and dad when they were here 30 years ago, it's going to fall on deaf ears. And frankly, we're not going to be impactful as local government members. And so I think there's a lot of work that we need to do, but first and foremost, we need to make sure that whatever it is we put out there is accessible to those that we represent in these communities, whether they have English as a second language, whether they identify as a minority, whether they have income inequality gaps. We need to make sure that we're considering what they're experiencing on a daily basis and take that into consideration when we're doing the work we're doing up at City Hall. If you aren't going through it and you aren't recognizing it as an issue, and you aren't factoring that into your work, well, then you're not addressing the people that are facing these issues day in and day out. And so again, when it comes to this question, as a Germantown kid who, again, grew up as a minority in a household with English as a second language, what could have helped me with these kinds of issues with, accessing bike lanes and making sure my parents had access to public transportation was, making sure that somebody came and spoke to us, right? Engaged with us, asked us, what are the issues that we're facing here in this city when it comes to reliable access and transportation, to feel like, our voice is heard. So thank you for that question. I really appreciate it.